All right, welcome back to another episode of the Supply Chaney podcast. I am your host, Nathan Chaney, and the podcast has traditionally been about hearing about the expertise and the experience of people throughout the supply chain industry. And today we are not going to depart from that at all. We're going to actually dive into even more the people side and the stories, and especially the leadership component out there in supply chain with today's guest, Chad Eudy, who leads leadership development at FHI, of all things. And he's got a really interesting story and a big passion for leadership and servant leadership. So I'm really excited to dive into this. It's one of my favorite topics. So without further ado, Chad, you want to take a second and introduce the fine folks to you in a little more detail?
Yes, thank you, Nathan. I am so excited to be with you and the Supply Chaney podcast and all that you have going on. I lead, like you said, the leadership development here at FHI. We just recently launched a new business unit, Leadership Laces, that I'm overseeing. Been with the company 31 years next month.
Yeah,
So I
congrats.
started out when I was about 12 years old, Nathan. I'm just kidding. I started out right out of the Navy, served in the Navy, and then came to work with Chuck and JB Wall here at FHI. Just a beautiful opportunity to just be a part of something that is so vital to our to who we are and to us as people, right? I don't think people understand the importance of the supply chain. And so when I got out of the Navy, I was just, what can I go do that
Mm-hmm.
I know is going to stay around? And I said, well, I want to be a part of the supply chain because everything we wear, eat, and have flows through it, right, Nathan? So
Right.
just really excited to be here and look forward to sharing my journey with you and the community here. And yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for inviting me. Can't wait to share.
Certainly. I heard you speak on a leadership podcast, and it was actually a sales focused podcast, but sales leadership. And I really appreciated a lot of the things you said in there. So I'm hoping that we can kind of unpack some of those things in a bit for the audience here. But before we do that, I like to go take a couple of minutes and go, back to the early days of Chad and where did you grow up? What was family life like? What was your first job? What do you think you wanted to be when you grow up? What's up with Chad the younger?
Yeah, thank you. That is a neat question to kind of ponder, right? And as I think back, so I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. It was Rockwell, North Carolina. So it's Charlotte, Concord, if you're in the NASCAR racing, and then you
Mm-hmm.
get further out into what I call the sticks, and it's Rockwell, North Carolina, a very small town. I grew up there, and as a young man, I wanted to be a professional athlete,
Okay.
and but size and posture and stature, Nathan, just wasn't in my favor. So I did end up playing tennis. I was really good at tennis
Join the
when I was in
club.
high
That
school. So
that
that
was
was a
me too.
passion of
Okay.
mine. Did really well, but just so there was a couple of things as I grew up that I said I would never do, Nathan. So I just a word of warning to people, right? Never say you're never going to do anything, right? So I said
Okay.
I'm never going to go to college. I'm never going to go in the military. I'm never going to get married.
Wow.
Well, guess what? Right out of high school, I went to the military, and I spent 4 years and was so blessed to be a part of serving in the Persian Gulf War. And so I spent 4 years there. I did not go to school. I tell people I don't have an education that gets me where I'm at today. I have an experience,
Wow. Yeah.
and experience has taught me a whole lot more. I have been to some classes in school, never did anything beyond my high school education, but God has really blessed me to be able to just to play out where I'm at in this space today. So didn't work out to be a professional athlete. My family, my mom and dad worked really hard in the cotton mill. That's what it was back then, the textile industry, where
Mm-hmm.
we made a lot of, the clothing that we wear. They did a lot of that. My dad owned his own paint business. I think one of my heroes that I always share about that just really helped me on my journey to where I'm at today as a leader is my grandfather. My grandfather was was in the Army during World War II, and something that I always cherish, always carry around, that just keeps me rooted and grounded in this service mindset, is he was a Purple Heart recipient. So he was wounded in World War II. And I just like to share with people, because a lot of people don't share this. So this was something that was gifted to me
Wow.
when he passed, that it's just something I cherish today, Nathan. But I think a lot of times we don't understand the importance of people that serve, whatever capacity they're serving in, but especially military men and women and families. So I went that route. I went to the military, and it was the best thing that I ever chose to do, beyond marrying my wife, which I said I'd never get married, but I've been married for 30 years and
Mm-hmm.
have two kids. My daughter just graduated and she started her nursing career, and
Mm-hmm.
my son is at school now, a junior up in Anderson, South Carolina, up near Clemson. So very proud of my of my wife and my two kids, and so the things that I said I'd never do, I did, and I wouldn't change anything for the journey I've been on, Nathan. But
Yep.
I just come from a small background, not a lot of status, not a lot of stature, other than hard work done right,
Yep.
which is our motto at FHI, and I've just
Right.
adopted that mentality, and been very blessed and excited to work where I'm at today and come from where I come from.
How about I think there's a fun tell here when we ask and we talk a little bit about what our first jobs were, if it was
Yep.
mowing yards or shoveling snow or the paper. What was your first job or two like?
So my first job was roofing houses, but I did not roof houses. I was more of a laborer. I tore shingles off houses.
Mm,
I lugged up the shingles on top of the roof, and from there, I also held a job of bagging groceries
okay.
at
Yep.
Food Line in a grocery store there in Salisbury, North Carolina. So, got early on into hard work, right, and then I shifted over and I was bagging groceries, and then I became a stocker
Mm,
um, during the summer when I was out of school, because it was third shift back then. So I stocked shelves at the grocery store,
yep. Yep.
which really taught me a lot. For about 2 or 3 summers, I did roofing, and then from there I transitioned into the grocery store, and
Yep.
then into the military after I graduated from high school.
Okay, all right. I mean, that kind of pans out. Hard work, inventory,
Yes,
retail. That kind of fits with kind of the business that you find yourself in
absolutely.
today. How ironic.
Yeah.
Um, how about as we kind of continue on this sort of life journey here a little bit, maybe talk a little bit about because clearly leadership is your forte and your passion. What are some of those leadership bits and lessons that you picked up while in the Navy?
Yeah. So Nathan, we here at FHI, and something that I adopted again, just from my grandfather, from my family, my aunt and uncle were missionaries to different nations, but they all really instilled in me the importance of serving. So I think leaders today, if you go out and you pick up a leadership book, or you go to take a leadership class in college or in school, 90%, 90 way up above 90% is really going to talk about what I call the conventional leadership model, where you start out, but you're really pursuing titles, you're really pursuing
Mm,
the next promotion, you're really pursuing money. And so what I found is not bad, but the higher you go, what I found is you found out that the promotion went to their head, so they couldn't lead with their heart. They became more of a dictator than they did a leader. I
mm,
believe servant leadership is the model, which I've found have stats, statistics, everything to prove that those who stoop to serve rather than stand and demand
hmm
get more done, because you're really right. People think that the work. So I always challenge our leaders and those in leadership. What if half of your team didn't come to work today because they didn't want to work for a jerk, or you
ah,
cared nothing about them other than they had an associate number, or there was there was nothing outside of work that you knew about them, right?
yeah,
So I believe servant leadership, whereas the higher you go in that conventional model, it's kind of like that pyramid. you get up to the top. So you got the CEO, and it goes all the way down to the entry level positions, which is where I started at FHI. It's like, okay, how many people do I have serving me? And so what I felt that was very important, I didn't create this. Obviously, this is servant leadership has been around 2,000 years. I mean, the greatest leader of all time modeled it. So we flip that upside down and we say, okay, the higher you go, the more people you get to serve. And the more people you get to influence and be a part of their journey, right? I always said, how many people can I put my fingerprint on in the business, in the organization, in the supply chain, whether they work at FHI, whether they go somewhere else and work, where can I just add value and help people just be the best that they can be? And I think a lot of times we're really focused on ourself. So, and servant leaders aren't really focused on self. They're really selfless. They're self-aware. They're secure. And that was what my granddaddy said. He said, Chad, your name may not be in a history book somewhere. Your name may not be, on a placard somewhere, but people remember how you treat them. People remember how you help them, serve them. So I think this servant leadership model is more of a model that I find, especially in supply chain, because we're serving blue collar workers a lot of times. And a lot of them come from rough backgrounds. They come from different places in life. And if I can make their life a little bit better just by being a great servant leader and serving them and helping them grow in their leadership journey and in their career, it just helps, right? It just helps things. And I was thinking about this the other day, Nathan, how many leaders, they're so self-centered, insecure power abusers that they don't understand the importance of the people that they've been entrusted to serve. And so they get way off on a tangent and they're just more into their title. And I like to share with a lot of people, I'm not in the titles anymore. And I appreciate you not even sharing my title, because I'm not in the titles. I tell people I'm in the towels. I'm in the serving. Because I've never chased a title. I've never chased the next promotion. I just work and try to do my very best at the positions I was at. So from, a handler on the warehouse floor to as far up as a senior vice president of HR and leadership development, and now serving as our VP of leadership development. I'm not really into titles, but I tell people, stop trying to make a dollar and just make a difference.
Yeah. That's a Tom Brokaw. Is that a Tom Brokaw quote?
I don't know
is that where
who
you're
it
pulling
is.
that
I
from?
don't know. It may not be
Yeah.
original with me, but I'm sure there's nothing new under the sun, right? So I'm sure somebody shared it at some other point. But I like to say, I'm not really into making a dollar. I'm into making a difference, because what I found is the difference you make in the people that do the work for you, that are moving the cases through the supply chain, that are moving product across our nation right now as we speak, right? If I make a difference in their life, the dollar just follows.
Yep.
Right. And our owner, Chuck, always said, Chad, if you give people what they want, which is they want to be welcome, respected, valued, and heard, then you're going to get what you want, because the people are going to help get you there. Right. And then it's been a journey where leadership, I don't think a lot of times people understand just how valuable and how important they are in those leadership roles. Right. So I've been very blessed to be in that role. And I was looking at something the other day, and I was reading something that I would share with the group of how, a lot of times servant leaders, Nathan, they don't understand the power of and the influence that they have. John Maxwell says that leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand, right? They really reach out and try to connect with people. And I think that's the key. That's the key to our leaders at FHI. We serve some really, really, really great customers, and we have to re-win that business every 3 to 5 years.
Right.
And we really serve some really great customers. And I believe it's because of our leaders and our people and the training and the development that we give them. But I think if people and leaders would be less focused on promotions and more focused on their people, that promotion just kind of comes, right?
Right.
And it's amazing that there's many leaders that don't even know their employee or associates' names, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, how do you not know your employee's name, right? I don't care what level of leadership you are, right? Know your associates, know who they are, know a little bit about them, um, and uh, I think you just have to choose to serve. I think what I used to tell people is servant leadership is not a lesson you learn; it's a lifestyle you live.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think the first and greatest place you need to serve is in your home, right? If I can't serve my wife and my children well, then I don't even need to be thinking about it anywhere else, because
Yeah.
really it's, I mean, they're the ones that I got to go home to every day, right? They're the ones that I got to, um, make sure that I'm serving well when FHI or wherever I end up is over, right?
Yep.
Which I don't ever want to leave FHI because I believe it's a great company and we do great things. But yeah, I mean, start serve where you are well, and so I've just been very blessed in a lot of roles, Nathan, to serve. I think the
Hmm.
greatest is at home, and then I do yearly missions trips where I go serve the orphans and the widows. I started in the Bronx, South Bronx, and then I moved to
Hmm.
Panama, and now I've been for the last 12 years in Africa, serving
Okay.
different nations in Africa, where we just go teach them leadership principles, talk to them about the importance of their roles as leaders. So, Kenya, Burundi,
Hmm.
Tanzania. I've been to the Congo, Rwanda, just all over, and just been very blessed. So, um,
Well, we'll chat a little bit more about that topic maybe offline. I've got some questions for you there.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but that quote that you were mentioning a while ago, if you make a difference, the dollars will follow. On when I was in college, the business fraternity that I was in, on the back of our class's shirts, we had a Tom Brokaw quote that I'll never forget, and it is that it's easy to make a buck, it's harder to make a difference.
That's awesome.
And that's and is there a point in time where that whole servant leadership and that admiration for leaders really flipped, and you can is there a point in time or an experience where you can tell like that was the defining moment, or have you just always had this passion, this sort of like innate curiosity about proper leadership?
Yeah, no. So it started again. I think for me, I was thinking about this the other day. Just different leaders that have made a tremendous impact upon me. And who are those servant leaders that really molded and really shaped me? And the first one, Nathan, you won't believe this, was my elementary school principal, Jack Walters. Jack Walters loved us. And he would walk through the halls. He would just tell us how much I mean, he would just love on us as little kids. This was back then, and elementary school was kindergarten through sixth grade. So it's not like that a lot of places anymore. But he would take the time with us as young kids, very we were moldable and shapeable in that moment. He would tell us that he appreciated it, and if he had to correct us, he didn't do it to demoralize us. He did it in a way that was loving and kind, but you did not want to disappoint him. You did not want to go back to his office, right? And then I thought another person in my life was in the Navy, my chief petty officer, Tony Davis. And unlike most officers, he was a chief petty officer. He didn't demand respect because of his title. But as an 18-year-old kid who'd never left his small town, who's now on a ship in the Persian Gulf at war, he would come alongside because I was struggling. I'm like, man, I wasn't thinking this was what it was going to become, right? So I went to boot camp in Great Lakes, Chicago, then went to the A school in Dam Neck, Virginia, and then straight to the ship. And they said, oh, by the way, you're going to the Gulf. And we spent 9 months there. And so, no communication, no time with family. And that was definitely a different time for me. But he really took me up under his arm, and he really encouraged me. He really helped me understand that I could make a difference. I had what it takes to do great things. And so he really encouraged me. And then I think the third one again was our owner, FHI owner Chuck Wall, who who at an early age, like 21, right out of the military, he gave me a leadership role to oversee a contract that we had just won. It was called Piggly Wiggly in Charleston, South Carolina. And he just entrusted me with a, a big contract. And I'm like 21 and I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to figure this out. Right. And so when it shifted for me is now I have the ability to take what these people have taught and trained and helped me learn. And then obviously for me, I'm a person of faith. So I study the Bible, and I think Jesus Christ is the greatest servant leader. So, I mean, I can't neglect that. But with those people and understanding and reading, and other people like Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Princess Diana, people that, they weren't out for, the limelight, the lights, the stage. They were just out to help serve people that couldn't give them anything in return. So that kind of flipped on me and said, hey, how can I best serve these people that Chuck has given me an opportunity to serve, whether it be the customer, whether it be our people, whether it be the driver, whether it be the vendor. I just found that the servant leadership model, it helped me be more successful.
All right. I
And
got a
it helped
question
me
for
build
you.
trust
Uh-huh.
and gain respect from the people that I was entrusted to serve.
Okay. All right. I think this is like the classic question, I think, or one of the classic questions in
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking with someone, you're waxing leadership philosophy and stuff is, can leadership be taught, or is it something you're born with, or fill in the blank?
Yeah, I think leadership can be, for me, I believe leadership can be taught. If you would have told me, because I'm a very introverted person naturally, if you look at my DISC, my Myers-Briggs, all that, I'm not someone that would be speaking on a podcast, that would be teaching associates or customers that we get blessed to be able to serve. And I get to provide even our leadership development stuff to our customers. I would have never seen myself. But again, I believe it can be taught, to answer your question. I think it can be taught. Some people are born with it. They're just natural leaders, right? People want to follow them. People just are, they're like magnets. I mean, people are attracted to them. And then I think there's other people that it might take a little more work for me, because I didn't feel like I was a leader, right? I'm just someone that's here, to do a job. And Chuck Wall saw something in me at an early age. Chief Davis, Jack Walters would always say, Chad, keep your nose clean, son. Because if you keep your nose clean, stay out of trouble, respect people, you're going to be able to go a long ways. And that stuck with me, right? So I think learning from these other people, that, because I've learned from some bad ones, Nathan, like people that would send their people home, that they sent them home, and their families, unfortunately, had to deal with an associate or a person that had been berated, that had been belittled, that had been, just chastised, spoken down to. And they went home to their families in such a bad mood. I've seen marriages be broken up, homes be destroyed. And I decided I didn't want to be that leader. And so I think it can be taught, to answer
Okay.
your question,
I
Nathan.
agree. I agree with you. I agree with you because I can share this a similar story of I never thought about being a leader of people when I was younger,
Yeah.
of any sort. But a lot of the investment of companies that I've worked at that have poured a lot of leadership development
Yep.
dollars and time,
Yep.
and have modeled a little bit of what a good company
Mm-hmm.
culture looks like. And to your point, I've also worked for not great leaders and companies that didn't have a great culture,
Yeah.
to be able to see. And I think it's valuable, right, to see both.
Yeah.
A question, since you've kind of alluded to the fact that you've been around there at FHI since very early days. I'm kind of curious if you can kind of walk us through the evolution, especially from a culture, a vision, a mission statement, this concept of leadership within FHI over the years as you've grown up.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like let's start walking into what you do these days in the business there.
Yeah, so I was blessed to join FHI. They were early on in starting the organization. Chuck and JB, you know, just really seen a need. Back in the days, it was a very rough environment for what we do. We're a labor solutions company because we understand that really that companies have they have a hard time with that labor piece, and we just feel like because we have a managed workforce where we have leaders on site, that we just provide a great service there. But early on, we didn't have a great culture, but we did have great leaders that had a heart for serving customers, serving people, and wanting to make sure that the people they employed understood that they were being entrusted to be able to serve either a customer, whether it be a grocery company, whether it be another company, whether it be a vendor, a trucking company, or even our people. They just understood the value of people, and they gave people opportunities that may not have had the opportunity to do what they do in a leadership role without FHI. And so early on, it was very challenging because we were coming in as a company early on to clean up a space where it was like lumpy. So they had these outside people that would come in and unload these trucks. That's kind of how we got our start. Chuck was obviously he worked with a trucking company that went through deregulation. So that's when your JB Hunts and your big ones came on the scene, and a lot of red tape was cut away, and so a lot of other companies had the opportunity to come into the industry to be able to make a difference. And so it was very chaotic. It was very challenging. I'll just say the least. There would be many days as a new site manager that I would go out and my tires would be slashed, because we were taking over for a group of people that were kind of, they were unemployable in other places just because of their backgrounds. Obviously, we gave every person the opportunity that wanted to come to work with us that could pass a background back then. But the culture started really early on where we understood that we had to have excellent leaders leading on the front lines to be able to provide a service to our customers, because a lot of times your culture it's not something, your vision, your purpose, your culture is not something that you can write on a placard and place on the wall. It's what's going on down the hall. It's really what's happening out in the operation, right? So you can say, this is my culture, but your culture is created by the people that you entrust to lead the people that are there doing the work, right? So Chuck and JB early on, they were just very engaged with us as young leaders, teaching us, molding us, shaping us, to understand that we've been entrusted, right? We don't own anything in this distribution center. We don't have anything other than we provide a service. And so we have to make sure that we continually model integrity, which is our number one value right now at FHI. We have to model integrity. We have to model having a safe environment that our people work in, because these customers we've been blessed to serve, they don't want us out there acting up on pieces of equipment and hurting their people. And so I learned early on as we've moved forward that leadership has been very important. Development of our people has been very important. It's kind of like, I usually tell people, it's kind of like you name a vendor, whether it's Kellogg's or Kraft, they're always trying to find the next best marketing strategy, whether they change the color of the box, add a little more sugar in the Frosted Flakes, or whatever they do. Well, we don't manufacture a product. Our product is our people. So Chuck and JB and now Ryan Wall, our CEO, they just have always instilled in us the importance of taking care of people. Let's develop our people. And so over time, as we have gotten to this point to where we are today, 34, 35 years into the business, we have really created some great opportunities for leaders who are serving people, because the leadership develops and creates that culture, right? And so what we found is we have a bunch of leaders that are breathing leadership oxygen into their people. And I always share this story of how a lot of times we want to shove people into work environments. And it's kind of like, what do you think was created first, Nathan? Was it the tree or people or oxygen? And most people say, well, oxygen was created first, right? And exactly. And so what happens is we shove people into these work environments where there's a lack of leadership oxygen. And then we wonder why they're running off to the next job, the next place, because there's no leadership oxygen. There's no servant leader, and they're breathing that oxygen in. So over time, we've just been able to see that leadership oxygen through our development of our leaders and our people be able to create just some of our biggest customers who've been serving 25 plus years. That's a long time, right? Again, because you have to re-win that business every 3 to 5 years. And so over time, with the development of our people, development of our leaders, which was instilled in us at a very early on in our journey with the company, over time, I've just seen it just the leadership oxygen grow, expand.
Yeah.
People, because this is hard work. Not everybody wants to do this work. So we've really found that I think the really the diamond or the diamond in the rough, so to speak, which is the development of people, understanding the importance of our people. And so we invest a ton in developing our people and our leaders. And over time,
Gotcha.
our culture has just grown to what it is today, where our purpose is being entrusted to serve in ways that make a memorable and measurable difference. There's no way that FHI can make a memorable, measurable difference unless our people are doing that are led by great leaders
Yep.
that have buy-in, and it just comes from Ryan Wall, our CEO, all the way down through our executive leadership team and all. So over the
Let,
years, it's really grown a lot.
let's talk a little bit about, let's bring it to kind of newer developments. And if I understand correctly, it feels like the leadership culture there has grown to such an extent that y'all have accumulated curriculum and lessons and insights to be able to package up that leadership development as its own service of sorts. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Nathan. Yeah. So what we found is we've developed a lot internally, a lot of leadership development that really speaks to character. It really speaks to culture. It really speaks to continuous improvement. I think those are three things that I believe a lot of people in the supply chain industry, or a lot of people that work in this industry, if I could say, hey, what are some things that you really challenge with? Well, a lot of times character, when I say character, that means you have to have leadership that is leading with integrity, right? That are leading the right way. They're not doing things underhanded, under the table, stealing, lying, cheating, all those things, right? And then culture, you just spoke about it. I mean, culture is so important to the life of just a business and a company. And then continuous improvement, right? How are we continually to improve processes, procedures in the supply chain to make it more efficient, to eliminate waste? So Leadership Laces was really created to help organizations, so we could help serve organizations that are looking for leadership development experiences, trainings, all different types of educational tools that we can supply them, that has just been birthed out of 30 plus years of doing it, working with different organizations, different companies. Right now, Leadership Laces, we're serving in the supply chain. We're serving in educational spheres. We're serving a nonprofit. So it's not just supply chain. It's across the board that we're being able to really serve. And Six Sigma, and just the lean concepts, the servant leadership model, all of those things is something that we're very blessed to be able to offer to
Yep.
other organizations now. And it's really going well, and we're really excited because this is not something we've just dreamed up in a bucket somewhere, right? We've
Right.
lived
Yeah.
it, experienced it, and just seen it work and provide results for a lot of organizations.
couple of easy ones here. We've talked a lot about FHI and what you all do. Can you just talk briefly, because we actually haven't gone into detail here of what exactly you do? Maybe just the quick pitch there, and and then therefore who is your ideal customer there at
Mm-hmm.
FHI?
So FHI, we have a lot of different business units, right? We have our FHI operational team, where we are inside distribution centers providing managed labor. So really, what we try to do is make sure that we can come in with a team, whether you want a short-term solution or a long-term solution. So we have a long-term solution where we sign, again, 3 to 5 year contracts, and we're blessed to be able to work inside operations or work with organizations across all spectrums, grocery, clothing, you name it. And then also we have a short term. It's called FHI Now. FHI Now really goes in, and we deploy what I call them the Navy SEALs, because I was in the Navy. So they're the Navy SEALs of FHI. They go in and they, a company's having maybe a push for the holidays, maybe inventory, or there's something going on where they got a huge spike in business, or they're having some trouble, keeping associates. So we come in for a short-term time, and we provide a solution to get them back up on their feet, get them moving. We have the leadership laces, where it's the development of people and organizations. And then we have steel toe talent, where we provide really the opportunity to help organizations find, retain, and keep people. We are not I would say another just a company that is going to give you people. No, we're not. That's not who we are. We're not a staffing agency. We actually hire the people at Steel Toe Talent. We train them, we develop them, we equip them, and then when you need people, we can send them to you, and then eventually you can hire them for your job. And then we are just launching a new RPO process, where we actually can come alongside an organization, and we can do the whole process, where they just outsource all of their recruiting to us. So just a bunch of different business models that we've just over time been able to birth out of who we are as an organization. So that's kind of what we do. Does that help out a
Yeah,
little bit?
yeah, great. Thanks for walking me
Yeah.
through all those offerings. One kind of last one here, and this is one of just traditional questions I got to ask everyone, and I'm really excited to hear yours. Which is do you have one of those sort of life mottos or quotes that you live by?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, there's quite a few, but the one that I think I would share today is, Nathan, who you are, what you are, and where you are today is because you were under the influence of certain people. Who you are, where you are, and what you are today is because of the people that you've surrounded yourself with in life, right? I think about you and the great work that you're doing, and just getting us together in the supply chain, and just the things that you're doing. You're a catalyst for something new, and it's a fresh voice. And so, but you've been surrounded by certain people that has molded and shaped you and encouraged you into who you are today. And then there's times that I've had some people around me that has not shaped the best in me. And unfortunately, I went down some paths certain times that I did not want to go down, right? But those people molded and shaped and created me. Fortunately, I seen that really early on, so I released them from my life. And because I just really believe that, the decisions that we make of the people that we put in our lives determine our destiny, right? Our decisions determine destiny. And if you decide to place people around you that are not smarter than you, that are not helping you be better, they're just telling you what you want to know, and not what you need to know. But I just really believe we are who we are today because of the people we've surrounded ourselves with in life.
Yeah,
And sometimes those have been good, and sometimes those have not been good.
for sure. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing that leadership perspective and your story today, Chad. And I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you, Nathan. Have a blessed day.
Thanks.